Greetings, my fellow learners and our beloved Mama Rubik. I welcome you all to the Group 2 presentation where we will be having a detailed discussion about a certain topic under market structure, the pure competition. I hope you will be able to take some useful information with you by the end of this discussion. Our objectives in this report is to define the pure competition, identify its characteristics, know the advantages and disadvantages, distinguish between the demand curve for the industry and for the firm in pure competition, discuss the average, total and marginal revenue, and lastly, explain and illustrate the short-run profit and loss situations in pure competition. Now, before we begin, I would like to take this moment to introduce our group to the class. My name is Mathalri C. Abragan, and in your screen are my participative group members. And we will be the one to deliver these informations we researched about this topic to you, our viewers. Now, industries are governed by market structure, which mainly talks about the number of firms in that specific industry, the nature of products produced, the firm's behaviors, the extent of barriers to entry, and the impact to efficiency. Different structures have different characteristics, and the choice of structure influence the behavior and outcomes of companies working in a specific market. So as per the previous group, they mentioned the four market models, and they are the perfect competition or pure competition, the oligopoly market, the monopoly market, and monopolistic competition. As mentioned earlier, each market has different characteristics, but we will be focusing on the pure market. So now, what is pure competition or perfect competition? Well, according to our research, pure competition is one of the four market structures in which thousands of firms each produce a tiny fraction of market supply in their respective industries. In simple terms, perfect competition occurs when there is a large number of small companies competing against each other and selling similar products. Take note of that, competing each other with the similar products. Some example of industries that deals with pure competition would be the agricultural markets, the wet markets such as the Carmen and Cogon Mercado, and sari-sari stores in which the products' prices are set by the market demand and not by the sellers. So in this type of market, consumers have the full knowledge of the goods being sold and they are aware of the prices charged to them. Although this type of market has its advantages, this market has also its disadvantages, which will be discussed by our next presenter.
Good day everyone, I'm Jessa Bugaa and we will identify the characteristics of pure competition and to know the advantages and disadvantages. So, there are four characteristics of pure competition. First, very large number. This is a large number of independently acting sellers who offer their products in a large market. For example is farm commodities, the stock market, and the foreign exchange market. Second, standardized product. Firms produce a product that is identical or homogeneous as long as the price is the same. Consumers will be indifferent about which seller to buy the product from. The producer would not lower the price since it will not earn anything by shirking its profit. Because the firm sells standardized products, they make no attempt to differentiate their products and do not engage in other forms of non-price competition. Third, price taker. The firm cannot change the market price but can only accept it as given and adjust to it. Each firm produces such a small fraction of total output that increasing or decreasing its output will not perceptibly influence total supply or product price. The individual competitive producer is at the mercy of the market. And lastly, free entry and exit. no barriers to entry and exit. There are no legal, technological, financial, or other obstacles that prevent firms from entering or leaving a competitive market. These characteristics is key in determining that in the long run, firms have no economic profit as the price would eventually equal minimal ATC or average total cost. These are the advantages and disadvantages of pure competition. The first advantage of pure competition is optimal allocation of resources. When the use of allocation level of resources is optimal, this means that under no circumstances are too many or too few resources being used. As a result, the output produced by the company is created as efficiently as possible. Another advantage of pure competition is competition encourages efficiency. This means producing without waste or so that the choice is on the production possibility fronted. In the long run, in a pure competitive market because of the process of entry and exit, the price in the market is equal to the minimum of the long run average cost curve. In other words, goods are being produced and sold at the lowest possible average cost. Consumers charge a lower price. In this type of market, price of product or services is fixed by demand and supply mechanism. If any trader charge higher price, then customers are free to buy products from another shop. So consumer can fulfill their requirements at lower price. And lastly, responsive to consumer wishes. In this type of market, firm must encourage to develop new products that consumer were interested to buy. This may change in demand and leads extra supply. So there is also a disadvantages of pure competition such as insufficient profits for investments. It is very difficult for small traders to sustain in the market because of the lack of incentives or lower profit margin. Second, lack of product variety because all of the products are the same and some are not branded. So there is no chance to achieve the maximum profit because of the huge number of other firms that are selling the same products. Third, lack of competition over product design and specification. Fourth, unequal distribution of goods and income. And lastly, externalities. For example, pollution. This means businesses that causes pollution that diminishes the property values or health of people in the surrounding area.
Good day, ma'am. Good day, everyone. I am Merlorica Arcabahog, and today I'll be discussing about demand as competition seen by a purely. The demand schedule and demand curve faced by the individual firm in a purely competitive industry is perfectly elastic at the market price. So, recall that the firm is price taker and cannot influence the market price. However, the industry as a whole, which determines the market demand curve, can affect price by changing industry output. So under perfect competition, a demand curve of the firm is perfectly elastic because the firm can sell any amount of goods at the prevailing price. So even a small increase in the price will lead to zero demand. This indicates that the firm has no control over price. On the other hand, large firms under monopolistic competition deals with differentiated products on the basis of brand. Thus, demand curve slopes downward and enjoys the monopoly power. It can sell more goods only by reducing the price of the product and selling close substitutes. Hence, the demand curve facing a firm perfectly elastic under perfect competition but less than perfectly elastic under monopolistic competition. So in a competitive perfectly market, The market demand curve is a downward sloping line reflecting the fact that as the price of an ordinary good increases, the quantity demanded of that good decreases. So moreover, the supply curve shows us the quantity that a firm will produce at a different prices. As the price of a firm faces increases, it will produce more. And note carefully how this is worded. We are not saying that a firm produces more, it will change a higher price. Firms in a competitive market takes the price as given. Instead, we think about the response of a firm to change in the price.
Good day everyone, I'm Kimberly Akaw and today I'm going to discuss about marginal revenue, average revenue, and the total revenue. So marginal revenue is the increase in revenue that results from the sales of one additional unit of output. So marginal revenue can remain constant over a certain level of output. It follows from the law of diminishing returns and will eventually slow down as the output level increases. So in economic theory, perfectly competitive firms continue producing output until marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So a company calculates a marginal revenue by dividing the change in total revenue by the change in total output quantity. So therefore, the sale price of a single additional item sold equals the marginal revenue. So for example, a company sells its first 100 items for a total of $1,000. So if it sells the next item for $8, the marginal revenue of the 101st item is $8. So marginal revenue disregard the previous average price of $10 as it only analyzes the incremental change. So marginal revenue is constant at the market determined price as each additional unit of output produced adds the same amount of the total revenue. So next is average revenue. So when we say average revenue, it shows how much revenue there is per unit of output. So in other words, it calculates how much revenue a firm receives on average from each unit of product they sell. So to calculate the average revenue, you have to take the total revenue and divide it by the number of output units. So next is the total revenue. So when we say total revenue, it is the total number of dollars received by a firm from the sale of product. So it is all the money that a firm makes during a period by selling the goods and services it produces. So the total revenue doesn't take into account that the costs of the firm incurs during the production process. Instead, it only takes into account if the money coming from selling what the firm produces. So, as the name suggests, total revenue is all the money coming into the firm from selling each product. Any additional unit of output sold would increase the total revenue. Graphically, total revenue is a straight line that slopes upward to the right. As the demand, marginal revenue, and average revenue curves horizontal at the market price. All three curves coincide, so this will be shown in the figure.
A profitable firm in pure competition. A firm will maximize its profit or minimize its losses by producing that output at which marginal revenue and marginal cost are equal provided product price is equals to or greater than average variable cost. Find the quality where MR equals MC or marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. So the number AR, so 3 cases using both cost, schedules, and graphs. Number 1 is profit maximizing case or step 1, find quantity where marginal. So step 2 are average revenue less than average variable cost. If yes, then produce this quantity. Calculate profits. A market structure in which a very large number of firms sell a standardized product into which entry is very easy, in which the individual seller has no control over the product price, and in which there is no non-price competition, a market characterized by a very large number of buyers and sellers.
Marginal cost and supply. Accordingly, the marginal cost curve, it calls MC, is the firm's supply curve, the output. As the price of output rises, the firm is willing to produce and sell a greater quantity. So, combining of the MC curves for the all firms producing the product and the supply curve for the industry. So, the relationship between the marginal cost and supply changes with the two values. The two values are no longer equal. So, as the price of the level increase, the quantity of goods and services, the businesses, people will also increase. So, for example, a firm of that make cars will sell a certain number of units at the one price, but it also market price goes up. So the firm will make more cars and order to maximize point. So the inverse is also true, resulting and describe production as a market prices to go down. So this is the same type of relationship can also be seen when they examine marginal cost true for the different reasons. The law is the diminishing return state that as the firm increase resources needed to the ramp as a prediction. So the marginal as the cost will decline, bottom out, the start to rise. To understand why, consider a car factory with 100 workers. Adding 25 more workers can help increase the production and to bring down the marginal cost of each new cars. So if the firmware start to slow each other down or get in each other's way, so this is the resulting in the increase of the marginal cost. And that is all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Karen Grace Abrera, firm and industry. Firm and industry is a firm is said to be in equilibrium when its marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue curve from below. In a short run, when its total output remains steady, there being no tendency to expand or contract its output. It has no desire to change, increase, and decrease its output levels. Profit maximization. In economic profit maximization, long run or short run is a process in which firms to determine the price, input, and output levels that leads to the highest profit. The quantity where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. That's why business can expand or reduce its production capacity.
And that would be the end of our report. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that our presentation managed to deepen your understanding about the pure competition under market structure. Once again, thank you and God bless.